Yes. What a question. In short, no. Let me explain. Number one, the locomotive was broken. Upon opening the set and actually testing it on my loop of track, I discovered that the bogie assembly just down here was broken. This part here, this plastic outer part which holds the NEM coupling, kept coming off. It kept falling away every single time you put it on the track. Basically, there are two little clips that hold this plastic assembly to the actual bogie, to the actual truck with the wheels on it. And the clip at this end was snapped. It was completely broken. And so this would basically keep falling down every time. There was nothing you could do really, short of actually permanently gluing it into place. It would just keep coming away every single time. So apart from that, you know, the locomotive was great. It was fine. And actually, if you go back to part one and you see me looking at the locomotive, you can see one of the bogies just hanging down ever so slightly. Little did I know that that would be a major problem later on. So this is a replacement locomotive. This isn't the original. This isn't the one that you saw in part one, I'm afraid. I had to go back to the shop and have it replaced. So, you'd think that's annoying enough, but I'm afraid it gets even worse. The controller was broken too. Well, we don't know. We don't know whether it was the controller or the adapter. But one of them was. Basically, it didn't matter what I did, the controller wouldn't light up. I switched everything on, I plugged everything in, the locomotive was on the track, I tried different locomotives. Nothing would light up, nothing would work at all, and so I knew that something wasn't right. And so we to this day we don't know whether it was the controller or the adapter, but apparently it doesn't matter, the entire box has to be sent back. So the entire box was sent back to Bachmann because it was very faulty, basically. So, that's not good. We're not happy about that, are we? I mean, come on, this is, you know, my first Bachmann set, and it's broke. Well, it was broke. There's now a replacement set, which is what I'm going to go through and finish off the video with now. Right, where were we? Oh yes, setting everything up. Well, as you can see, I've already laid the track out in the middle of the room. I've deliberately left a little gap there so that I can show you how you connect the power clip into the track and then the controller into the power clip. I know that we've got a much bigger loop going around the outside of the room, but I thought it would be quite good if we focus on what you actually get in the box, you see, and we then can test the locomotive and its coaches on the track that they think is good enough, basically. Okay, the next thing to do is to plug up this gap in our layout. Now, you could simply just slot the section of track in and job's done, but we've got to connect this power clip into the piece of track, and I strongly recommend, and I really mean this, that you do that before you plug it in. Otherwise, you're going to be getting your face down on the floor, your nose pressed against the wood or the carpet, trying to find the hole and then bending everything and snapping it. Oh, just forget it. Not worth it. Seriously, put the clip in before you actually connect the piece to the rest of the layout. Now, I've made it quite easy for myself by marking where the power clip goes, but the camera is actually good enough to show you if we get in really close. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There we go. There we go. Can you see that? I've marked it in blue where the power clip goes, and you can just about see a hole underneath the rails. And if we spin the piece round, you can see the same thing on that side. Two little blue marks where the power clip goes, and holes for the power clip to slide through and into. So let's just find where they are. Here we go. So that's the first one through, and then holding that down because it's springy with one thumb, I then push the other one through, and job's a good one. Look at that. Okay, so there we have it. The section is now back into the layout. The power clip is connected, And now we can turn our attention to the controller. So I'm going to set the controller up just here, I think. And here it is. Let's just take off this piece of film that was wrapped around it. Hopefully this one is going to work just fine. As I say, the other one didn't, which it didn't exactly impress me, but well, there you go. That happens sometimes. So we need to plug this into the track using these cables here. Now I found out that this is the plug-through cable. This is the DC controller to DCC controller cable, which we looked at a bit ago, just there. So I'm not going to need that, but I am going to need this. So let's just undo this one. And it looks like it's got a little clip at one end which is going to slot onto those two pins there in the power clip. So I'll just plug this end into the controller there, like that, where it says to track. And then I'll plug the other end. It doesn't look like there's a right way or a left way or a wrong way, so I will just very firmly hold the power clip and then push this onto the pins. 3, 2, 1, and you're back in the room. Okay, something else that's really annoying me about this set, when is it going to end? It was so hard to get this power clip onto the two pins that I actually had to take the power clip out, even though I said, you know, you don't really want to do that while you've got the track connected. So I had to take it out, really push really hard to get it to go in, and then I was luckily able to actually find the holes again and slot it in while the track was still connected, helped by the fact that I had marked where the holes were, you see, so it was easy to locate where to push the power clip. Bachmann keep doing this. They keep making something look good, and it seems fine on paper, but in practice, it's pants. It's just not good enough. The Hornby way of connecting basically cables to the track is just better cables. You know, you just push a pin down and in it goes. But this Bachmann set, as I say, comes with what looks like a nice, neat little clip to just slot onto the pins, but it doesn't work. It's so hard to get it on that you have to take everything apart to do it. Oh, getting angry now. So let's just plug the transformer in that we're going to need for the controller. Plugging this end into the controller itself. Fingers are crossed. Let's give it some power. It works! We've got a red light on there, we've got a red light on there, and a red light on there. Yes! I can relax. This one works. It's either obviously we don't know whether the old set had a faulty controller or a faulty adapter, but in this set both work just fine. Okay, so the track is set up, the controller is plugged in, and the power is on. So let's load it up. I'm going to put on the brake coach first, the one that goes at the back of the train, just like that. Oh gosh, yes, this layout is so small. And then the standard first class coach, which is actually a corridor coach, I think. It looked like it anyway. Okay, nicely coupled up. And then the locomotive itself, which is intact and doesn't have any snapped bogies or anything. So, let's load this carefully onto the track. There we go. That looks good to me. Okay, we're here. The locomotive's on the track, the coaches are on the track, the controller is plugged in, everything is switched on. Everything should work. Now, the locomotive's default address, its default number is number 3. So if we just press number 3 on the controller, that was quite simple. Let's turn the controller and see what happens. Oh yes! It's moving! And then pick the other direction. and back she comes. Okay, a few minutes later, we are now coupled up. Basically, there's a lot of play in these NEM couplings. They are very happy to just swing freely from the left to the right, and that's why it didn't couple up. But it's coupled up, so now, pick the opposite direction, I should be able to take this little, this little diesel passenger train away. Away she goes. Well, in all honesty, the locomotive is beautiful, performing really nicely. And the coaches, I can't fault them, they're just perfect. The controller is really nice and smooth, the locomotive is really responsive. Yeah, this is fantastic. Let's just test the locomotive's emergency stop function. So that's it, I've got my thumb ready. 3, 2, 1. And then if I press it again, off she goes. Perfect. Right, I've brought the locomotive to a stop so it can put its lights on. Now, with a Hornby controller, you just simply press function, and the default setting is basically lights. But with this one, we have to press function and then number 10. So I press function, number 3 starts flashing, and then I press number 10, and there we go. You can see the lights on. Off, on, off, on. I press function again to disable it, to disable the the function menu, so to speak, and then we should see some red ones at the back. Yes, there they are. Well, what do I say? The locomotive is beautiful, the coaches are perfect, I can't fault them. The controller is really nice, it's really responsive, it's really easy to use, just as the name suggests. But it was too hard to get here. It was too tough. It wasn't enjoyable having to replace the controller, having to replace the locomotive, having to take things apart just to get them to connect together properly. It kind of ruins it a little bit. And that's a shame, because if it weren't for those things, this set would have been flawless. It would have been absolutely perfect. But my experience with this set has been far from perfect. And that's a shame.